What is active learning? Active learning is a farewell to the traditional lecture. No more standing at a lectern and dispensing wisdom in 120-minute snooze-inducing soliloquies.
Anyone?
The most common belief about active learning is that it's all about students using class time to do things, not hear about them. But active learning is much more than that. At its core, active learning is about creating a continuous feedback loop between professors and students. Feedback professors use to understand how well their students have understood and mastered the material. The result, from a professor's perspective, can be less time spent lecturing and more time spent coaching, facilitating, and bringing concepts to life. Reams of research have shown that active learning teaching methods are more effective at improving student success than traditional teaching methods that involve passive learning. In fact, students are 1.5 times more likely to fail in traditional lecture format classrooms than in an active learning classroom. Students in active learning classrooms outperform students in lecture classrooms by 6 percentage points on the same exams, which can mean the difference between passing and failing. And professors who have implemented active learning see an increased ability and willingness for students to participate in class and do their readings, as well as increased motivation. Ultimately, they see better learning outcomes, and isn't that the goal? Whose idea was it anyway? The modern concept of active learning first surfaced in 1991 when historian Charles Bonwell and psychologist James Eisen laid out the first academic case for transforming lecture-based learning into something better. In their book, Active Learning: Creating Excitement in the Classroom, they argued that teaching should be less about bestowing information on students and more about developing skills. By encouraging higher-order thinking through reading or writing about the task at hand, or by vigorously discussing it as a group, knowledge can take hold in the students' own minds. The idea goes back 2,000 years to Socrates. The Socratic method of teaching was all about continuous feedback, about asking students questions and using their feedback to gauge their knowledge. But somewhere along the line, higher education moved off of this path. As university became something for the masses and enrollment swelled, it was no longer possible or economically feasible to teach in an interactive, feedback-driven way. Sorry, Socrates. With the exception of small, upper-level seminar courses, teaching became lecturing, a one-way conversation. Feedback from professors was reduced to once or twice a semester with little or no opportunity for creating regular, ongoing feedback between students and faculty. Why isn't everyone using active learning? The short answer, it's really challenging to implement at scale. From redesigning a classroom to better facilitate student interaction, to making course content interactive and engaging, putting active learning strategies into motion can be incredibly time and work intensive. And that's simply not a luxury professors have. It's not easy to move from static course materials to dynamic content. Finding great interactive content can be challenging, leaving professors to search the web for resources or create their own, which is even more time and energy consuming. Large class sizes make it nearly impossible to implement active learning. In fact, they create the very environment active learning is meant to eliminate. Students become anonymous, so they don't hold themselves accountable for their learning, and distraction and disengagement run rampant. Consider the stats. 92% of students send text messages during class. Only 54% of students report that they do their readings on a regular basis. The average attention span of students is 8 seconds, down from 12 seconds in the year 2000. Ironically, personal technology, the very thing that many professors blame for increased student distraction, is a key reason why active learning is now on the rise. Thanks to technology, it's never been easier to implement active learning. Today, virtually every student enters the classroom with an internet-connected smartphone in their hands. By harnessing that technology, we've been able to recreate and even improve upon the classroom of 2,000 years ago. Active learning has never been easier to implement. With the right technology, professors can now know who has done the reading, what they understood, and where they had challenges before students even set foot in the classroom. Once class begins, professors can more easily flip the classroom, moving from one-way lectures to group discussions around concepts they already know students had the most challenges with. In larger classrooms, they can easily see who's there and how much they've been participating. They can easily process student feedback and course correct their own discussion points in real time. When it comes to assigned homework, they can target areas that they know students had trouble with in that class that day. Technology has enabled the Socratic method to work at scale. Sounds like it's time to start active teaching. In the quarter century since Bonwell and Eisen's active learning book was published, a movement has emerged from its pages. A vast network of evangelizers whose mission is to help professors switch from passive to active classrooms and keep abreast of the latest research on teaching and learning. They're everywhere. Nearly every college in North America has a teaching and learning resource center to support faculty in the transition to new teaching methods. Organizations dedicated to teaching reform have flourished, from the membership-based Haystack to the Faculty Guild. Still, many professors have resisted this change. Do you really want to be one of them?